Hello and welcome back to MnDOT's video tutorials to guide you through its online oversized overweight permitting systems routing process. We recommend you watch the previous video segments to understand the steps and tools needed to build custom routes using the operation I provide route. In this segment, we will build an advanced custom route using the off-system routing function for exiting the state highway system at county or other local road junctions that are not part of the state highway system. We will also use points of interest in lookup and proximity settings. The proximity setting allows you to pinpoint an exact location which may be between towns and/or state road junctions. In this advanced example, we will build a desired custom route with common constraints that can cause route failures. I will show you how to route around constraints such as low overpasses, weight-restricted bridges, or other restrictions. We will do this by using the off-system function to identify exit points from the state highway network. Because MnDOT permits are only valid on interstates, U.S. highways, and Minnesota trunk highways, you are required to contact the local agencies to obtain permits for their roads. The MnDOT Permit Office may request copies of local permits prior to issuing a state permit. Before we start routing, I'd recommend using a map resource to ensure that you are selecting correct junctions and proximities when custom routing. Choosing incorrect junctions and proximities can cause route failures, delaying the permitting process. Let's take a look at a route we're going to enter, using some local roads to avoid the constraints on our desired route. This route begins in northeast Minnesota and will end at the North Dakota border. Our state permit route begins on Minnesota Highway 194 near Hermantown, Minnesota, then takes US 2 to Minnesota 200, to Minnesota 371, and back to Minnesota 200 to reach our destination at North Dakota. So let's get started. We will be using the Route tab for this tutorial. Let's begin by selecting the operation I provide route. I'd like to note that at no point during the routing process should you switch between operations I provide route and let system create my route. Doing so creates route errors and permit delays. Now let's enter the first state highway on the route. Click in the Route Start box and use Lookup to select the first state highway, which in this example is Minnesota 194. Scroll through the tab and select Minnesota 194 and click OK. It's important to note the routing system automatically defaults directions to north and east when using custom routing operation I provide route. Use the direction arrows to select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. When selecting the direction, it's important to ensure the direction box highlights to blue. This indicates the system has identified the direction you have chosen. Next, click in the Location Start box and use Lookup to select your beginning location. Some local road junctions may be found in Points of Interest. Click on Points of Interest and look through the available junctions to see if the desired road is listed. In this example, we're entering the state highway from Midway Road, County Road 13, Hermantown. So select that from the list and click OK. If a local road is not listed in the points of interest, use a state road junction or town and look up and adjust your proximities to pinpoint the starting location. Our next state highway on our custom route is US 2. Click in the VO1 route box and use Lookup to select US 2. Click on US 2 and then click OK. Next, set the direction of travel. Use the direction arrows to select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. Note that the VIA locations autofill the state highway junctions. When custom routing, you can check a partial status at intervals to determine if a partial route passes or fails. Click the Evaluate button to see the status results below. Here, we see the route receives a partial pass for the travel portion of Minnesota 194 between Midway Road and US 2. A partial pass route status means the route passes to this point, but is not a complete route until the route end location is entered. Next, click in the VIA 2 route box and use Lookup to select the next state highway, which in this example is Minnesota 200. Click on Minnesota 200 and click OK. Next, select the direction of travel. Use the direction arrows to select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. Next, let's check the route status. Click the Evaluate button. Here we find the constraint that is failing our route. Click on the Details button to get information about the failure. Here we are notified of a max height restriction on US 2 due to a low overpass between Minnesota 194 and Minnesota 33. For additional details, double-click on that description. This opens a second details box which provides mile point information and a location description. These details can help us locate the constraint on a map so that we can find alternate state or local routes around the constraint. In this example, we will see the failure occurs at mile point 246.571, which is 1.7 miles east of Minnesota 33 on US 2. Once you've gathered the details, click Cancel to close the constraint details box. Click Cancel again to close the route results box. Using this map illustration, I will measure 1.7 miles east from Minnesota 33 to locate the low overpass. Using this method, we find the low overpass is located on Minnesota 194 near the US 2 junction. Because we need to maintain our desired route, we will search for local roads which can take us around the low overpass. Here we've identified a local road which bypasses the constraint. Let's start adjusting the route. In this example, the local road junctions with Minnesota 194, which means any route information after Minnesota 194 needs to be cleared. Use the Clear Row button to remove an existing via in the reverse order. Begin by clicking in the Via 2 location box. Then click Clear Row button. Next, follow the same process to clear Via 1 by clicking in the Via 1 location box. Then click the Clear Row button. Now that we've removed all route information after the low overpass constraint, we can begin entering our altered route. Click in the Via 1 route box and use Lookup to select the next state highway, which in this example is Minnesota 194. Click on Minnesota 194 and click OK. Next, set the direction of travel. Use the direction arrows to select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. Next, click in the Via 1 location box and click Lookup. Click on Points of Interest first to see if the local road is listed. In this example, we find local road St. Louis County Road 46 is listed as a junction for Minnesota 194. Click on St. Louis County Road 46 and click OK. Our next step is to tell the system where we are exiting the state highway system. Click on the Info box next to Via 1. A Comments box window opens location information. In this window, click the Off System checkbox to show this is where the route break occurs. Then click OK. Now the system knows we have gone from Midway Road to St. Louis County Road 46 and will exit from Minnesota 194 at this location. This next step is to tell the system where we get back on the state highway system. In this example, we will get back on system at US 2 from another local road which is located just west of the US 2 Minnesota 33 junction. Click on Via 2 route box and use Lookup to select the next state highway, which in this example is US 2. Click on US 2 and click OK. Next, set the direction of travel using the arrows keys. Select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. Next, click the Via 2 location box and click on Lookup. Select Points of Interest to see if the local road is listed. Scrolling down to the bottom, we find our local road, St. Louis County Road 874, is listed. Click on County Road 874 and click OK. At this point, the system only knows you're at the junction of US 2 and St. Louis County Road 874. Before you can evaluate the route status, you need to enter routing information into Via 3 so the system knows how far you've traveled on US 2. Click in Via 3 and use Lookup to select Minnesota 200. Next, set the direction of travel. Use the direction arrows to select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. Next, click the Evaluate button to check the route status. Here we see our route passes to this point. Next, we need to add more vias to continue entering our route. To do this, use the direction arrows on the scroll bar next to the info boxes. Click the down arrow one time to add one row. We do this because the system requires a previous via be visible. Next, let's enter our next state highway. Click in the Via 4 route box and click Lookup. Next, select Minnesota 371 and click OK. A message box appears showing two junctions to select from. This is because the two highways travel together on this segment of highway. Please note that selecting an incorrect junction can create errors resulting in failed routes. Looking at the map, we see that we enter Minnesota 371 at the South Junction. Click on Minnesota 371 South Junction and click OK. Our next step would be to select the direction of travel, but in this example, the default direction, north, is correct and highlighted blue, so we don't need to change it. So let's continue. In this example, we run into a constraint which fails the route located here on Minnesota 371. After reviewing the map, we find a local road which bypasses the constraint. This local road routes us back onto our original route, entering Minnesota 200 at Benedict. In this example, the local road is not in points of interest. In this case, we will need to enter proximities to tell the system where we exit onto the local road. We start by measuring the distance between junctions. In general, it's best to select the next closest state junction from the off-system exit point. In this example, the next closest junction is the north junction of Minnesota 200. Looking at this illustration, we measure the distance between the north junction of Minnesota 200 and the local road, which in this example is 1.9 miles between the two junctions. Let's start entering the route. First, we need to add another row, which will be via 5. To do this, click the down arrow next to the info boxes one time. Next, click in the Via 5 route box and use Lookup to select Minnesota 371, since this is the road we're going off system from. Click on Minnesota 371 and click OK. Our next step would be to select the direction of travel, but in this example, the default direction north is correct and highlighted blue, so we don't need to change it. Next, click in the location box and click Lookup and select the next closest junction from the exit point. We've already identified that the north junction of Minnesota 200 is the next closest junction to our local road exit on Minnesota 371. Click on Minnesota 200 North Junction and click OK. Next, click in the info box next to the Via 5 location box. A comment window opens for location information. In this window, click the off-system checkbox to show this is where the route break occurs. Next, enter the local road information into the comments box. In this case, type at Cass County Road 38. And once you've completed this, click OK. Local road information entered in this comment box will appear in the final route path. Next, we need to tell the system where we are getting back on system. In our illustration, we found that this local road enters Minnesota 200 at Benedict. Next, we need to add another via. Click the down arrow next to the info boxes one time. Next, click in the Via 6 route box and use Lookup to select Minnesota 200, since this is where we're getting back on system. Click on Minnesota 200 and click OK. Next, set the direction of travel. Use the direction arrows to select west. Click in the direction box to highlight to blue. Next, click in the location box and use Lookup. Select towns, select Benedict, and click OK. When selecting towns from Lookup, the proximity defaults to vicinity of. This proximity covers a vast area, picking up nearby constraints which could fail your route. In general, it's always best to use exact junctions and proximities to pinpoint exact locations. In this example, our location enters the state highway from the city limits of Benedict. Click on the arrows in the proximities box to set the proximity to in limits of to pinpoint the location. Next, click the proximity box to highlight it to blue. The system now knows that we are getting back on system at Minnesota 200 within the limits of Benedict. Since this is our last state highway for our route, we will only need to enter the end location. Click in the end location box and use lookup to select our ending location, which in this example is the North Dakota border. Click on @ND and click OK. Now we are ready to evaluate our entire route. Click the Evaluate button to get the results. So here we see our route passes. If your route fails, you may still submit applications for review. In general, applications submitted with failing routes are considered special handling and may experience delay. Failing applications are reviewed by MnDOT permit techs who verify application information and determine the next steps for the permit's request. This concludes our custom routing example and completes our video series on how to use the routing portion of MnDOT's oversized overweight online permitting system. Thank you for watching.